Hey guys! Oh wow, it's been a minute since I've done these like sit down videos. Sorry, I'm tucking myself in the blanket. Oh my god, it's so cold. Yeah, okay, but at least I have my tea here. Okay, so I've been experimenting with vlogs lately, and that's been really fun. And I'm enjoying just the process of learning how to do vlogs properly and all that shit. But then I always find myself just coming back to these sit down videos because I feel like they're just more authentic to me. I love having conversations and I like talking about stuff like this. It just feels really good, which is why in like my vlogs there will always be a time when I'm actually just like talking. Yeah, because that just is the stuff that makes me feel good. I'm in my matutas, yes. Um, Matutas were slandered recently, and I'm just like, seriously, they're so awesome. I love matutas. Like, I love even just being able to walk out in public in the streets of Nairobi with my matutas. But also, I'm so excited because my hair is growing and it's finally long enough to be in matutas and not unravel. So that too. Yes. Now to the topic of today's video, I wanted to talk about questioning. Um, this is something that I've been thinking about just because when you interact with people, sometimes it's interesting to interact with people who are of differing opinions and differing backgrounds from you because it opens up your mind into how people think. But one interesting thing that I found is that, I've always been someone who questioned ever since I was a kid. Like, I was just this curious child who wanted to know why all the time. And I grew up in a household that was um, accommodating of this to a certain extent. Of course, still, if you questioned my parents in a certain way, then there would be trouble, as most African houses had. But generally, like I was the last one of four girls for the longest. I have two younger siblings. I think I've mentioned that before, but they came like in my 30s, late 20s, early 30s. Anyway, um, so I was the last born, and then the two middle kids were very outspoken. Like, there were people who didn't just take things the way they were supposed to be taken. Like, they questioned and they wondered why, and very loudly, sometimes very rudely. So I came into an environment that already had that space for questioning. So even when I was in school and church, always wanted to be a good person. Like, I was always someone who wanted to be a good girl or a good child, well behaved. That's what I mean by good. So in school, like, I did my best to follow rules, although sometimes I'd just be naughty for the sake. In church, I really wanted to be a good Christian, so I didn't really question that much because it was seen as a sin to be questioning, the word of God or the people of God, stuff like that. So it wasn't until like I couldn't take it anymore inside me, I was so unhappy, that I allowed myself to question Christianity. And I've talked about this before because it led to my spiritual awakening, which has led me to a very authentic spiritual experience in my life, which I'm so grateful for. Um, but then I feel like for me, I had the privilege of my personality and also my home environment where, I grew up with my mom mostly because my dad left for the States when I was a teenager. And so a lot of my teenage years and my adult years have been spent with my mom. And the thing, actually, both my parents are open minded, to be honest, because my dad also is pretty open minded. But with my mom, the thing that she's always said is that she just wants us to be happy, regardless of whether she agrees with our decisions or not. And if she disagrees, she'll probably say that she does. But generally, all she has wanted for us is for us to be happy, to live lives that give us happiness. And I think I took that for granted to a certain extent until I was actually just talking about it with my sister the other day. I've known that my mom is special. Like, I don't mean special like special. I mean like unique, in a good way because she's not a perfect person, but she has given us a certain amount of freedom, and I didn't realize the full extent of that idea that she had I didn't understand the full extent of her raising us in that way, where literally she just she didn't interfere with our choices. My mom is not the kind to interfere with our choices. She will disagree often, but she will not be like, do this, especially ever since I was like a teenager. When, when I got to the age where I started really thinking for myself, my mom kind of just allowed me to be. So that in itself has been a really beneficial thing, because with us in our family, I feel like we have been able to explore different things without necessarily dealing with the consequence of a disapproving parent, even if sometimes she doesn't approve, but it won't be a deal breaker or a shun you, I cast you out type of thing. She's allowed us to be ourselves, even though sometimes it's not always comfortable. Long story to say, that I have had the privilege of being able to question life and to create it in a way that I see fit for myself, without feeling like I had to please my parents to do it. There's still the aspect of that, like I would still love them to look at me and be like, I'm so proud of you, but then it's not a pressure that I get from them to live a certain way. So I'm grateful. I'm really grateful for that. I understand that for other people, their families are not quite as accommodating as mine is. And, then it makes sense that sometimes stepping out and of what is the norm can be difficult for people. So interacting with different people, I've seen that a lot. At first, I used to get so confused, because I'm like, why is this? Like, there was a guy I was dating whose family had such power over his life. Like, it was so crazy. They would summon him, they would tell him do this, and he had to do it. And for me, I was just like, what the hell is going on? I was so confused. And when he'd come to me and he's complaining about how, oh, my family wants me to do this and I have to do it, and I'd be like, why are you doing it? Like, so you just be like, no, it's my life. So from my, because it was a form of privilege, from my perspective, I'm just like, just tell them off. But you see, for many people, in doing that, it's almost like you're cutting ties with the family, because it's such a powerful bond that they have, where this is how we are as a family. Us guys didn't grow up with that. So for me, for a long time, I was so confused. I'm just like, I don't understand what you're talking about. If you don't want to do this, you just don't do it. Guy, thank God for my parents. We could actually be like, I don't want to and I'm not going to. But I now see the perspective of other people, where it's like, it's not always that easy. But this is the thing about questioning. Questioning is a beautiful thing. It's such a beautiful thing, and nothing in my life has had more of an impact, because it has allowed me to take apart things that weren't beneficial for me and really look into them and see how dysfunctional they were. And I'm talking through career, through relationships, through spirituality, through mentalities, like on all levels of my life. Once I started questioning, it's like I started pulling at a thread that started with spirituality, and it unraveled everything else. And the benefit of that is that now I could look at this and be like, okay, so what here feels authentic to me and what doesn't? And if I don't feel like I connect with the norm in certain areas of my life, then can I create a new way of being in those areas that is authentic to me? I have been so lucky to be able to do this in my life, and I get that very fully now, because it's not something that everybody feels like they can do. So that has allowed me to become more authentic in my living. I'm still on a journey. I'm still getting there. It's not like I have it all figured out, but at least I do it, And I'm living a life that feels authentic. It's challenging, but it feels really real for me, and I'd rather face challenges in an authentic life than face them in an inauthentic life, where on top it's like what it feels like. Have you ever been dragged to a party by someone and you're like, I don't want to go, but then they're just like, no, let's go, they insist. Then you go for the party and it sucks, or like there's drama that happens, or the night just goes to shit. And then you're so pissed because you're like, I didn't even want to come. And then on top of not wanting to come, now this shit happens. So I feel like if I was in a path that wasn't authentic that didn't feel authentic to me, I'd be like double pissed because I'm like, I'm facing challenges because life is challenging. There are, mountains to climb and, stuff to face. So imagine now I'm in that challenge and then I'm like, I'm in this challenge and it's not even a place that I want to be in. Like, what the fuck? I'd be really pissed off. So I would rather be facing challenges in a place where I choose to be in. It's like you've made your bed, lie in it, you've chosen it. I'd rather do that. And the thing about questioning though is that as amazing as it is, like I've said, it's challenging because once you start doing it, it's not easy to stop. Like I said, for me, religion was the thing that just was just like, I can't understand what this is. I don't feel like I fit. So once I started unraveling that, then I started looking at my career and I was like, oh, I didn't even really have a career, but I was like, what am I doing? I can't do things that don't make me happy. Then I started looking at marriage and I was like, oh my God, do I even want to get married? I started looking at kids. I'm like, I don't want to have kids, So you see, it opens you up completely. Once you start, it's hard to stop. And the other thing is that it's challenging because oftentimes you can find yourself standing against the grain of what is the norm. And one thing that I'd like to mention, it's just occurred to me. There's nothing wrong with doing things even according to what society wants or what society values. I don't think there's anything wrong with choosing the path of, school, good job, marriage, kids. There's nothing wrong with making any of those choices at all. For me, it's just, I feel, my personal opinion is that it should be something that feels good for you. So what I don't agree with is people following a path that directly contradicts what they want for themselves. I'm just making that clear just in case people, misunderstand what I'm saying. Yeah, I just want to clear that up. So yeah, sometimes you can find yourself being very lonely because you're standing against the grain of the norm. And I have found this a lot of times. It's like I make a decision that feels authentic to me, but because I'm the only person who thinks this way, I tend to be isolated, or I stand, the cheese stands alone, like I stand by myself. And I feel like that in itself, it can also be a good thing, because what it does is it develops your sense of self, it develops your sense of independence and of, just being strong in who you are. Because you don't just follow the crowd, you form an opinion, and whether it's contradictory to what other people are believing, you stand in your truth and you grow like a spine, a backbone from that. So it's challenging, but it's also a really amazing thing. Just even to add on to the point of, once you start doing it, it's hard to stop. It's also that you wouldn't ever be satisfied with just doing things for the sake of doing them. Or if you do, that you've made that choice. But I do think that as a culture, according to me, I don't feel like we allow questioning enough. I do feel like it's something that we have to allow ourselves to do more. For example, I was having a conversation on Twitter with someone. This was actually an interesting situation. I'll give you the whole backstory. So a friend of mine posted a picture and I complimented him. I was just like, hey, like, damn, you look really good. Like, he's good looking. And for me, that was not it was just a comment. I compliment people all the time. It's something that I even have to bite it back sometimes. Like when I'm walking in town and I see a chick who's looking hot, I just want to be like, oh my God, you look so hot. But I'm like, I don't want you to be awkward, so I don't. But yeah, it's something that I love to do. So I complimented my friend, and someone basically told me that I was being thirsty. And I was just like, I didn't even reply because I'm like, it's okay, you don't get it. But my friend replied my comment and was like, I'm so grateful that I have grown enough to know that when you compliment me, it doesn't mean that you're hitting on me. And I was like, thank you, you get it. But it got me thinking about guys, and this is just from my observation. Most Kenyan guys have a hard time complimenting each other. I feel like most guys, which is where the no homo thing came from, right? It's like, to most guys, the idea of a compliment automatically means attraction. So if someone is complimenting, it's because they're attracted to you. Which for me, I was just like, I don't even understand. Like with girls, we're so extra. If I compliment my girlfriends in such ridiculous ways, we'll be like, grabbing each other's bodies, and with consent, there's what's the word, pre-existing consent to do these things. But then, yeah, it's just like, I just like look at my friend's ass and I'd be like, look at your ass, it looks so juicy, but it's not seen as me hitting on her. I'm just like appreciating her body. And I love that we can be able to do that, because as women, we affirm each other so much. I love it. Like, I love getting compliments from guys, but to be honest, nothing makes my day than getting a compliment from a woman, because that just feels like, especially like my girlfriends, because it's just like, it's so hype. So with guys, I've noticed that it's not the same thing. They automatically equate a compliment with attraction for many guys, because I've seen, again, I have male friends who within their circles have broken these things down and have created situations where they can be that open with their friends, and they're like, hey, you're looking good, to their male friends. And I love that, because who doesn't love affirmation? I feel like so many men are starved for it, and that's why, like, I can't tell you how many guys that I've been in romantic situations with where I feel like they don't even know their worth. They don't even know, they can't even see their goodness. And I feel like that's something that contributes to that. It's like men are not allowed to affirm each other in all these different ways. They don't compliment each other. It feels really sad. I've had to, because I'm a person, one of the ways that I show love is words of affirmation. So in my relationships, I use that a lot. And I see so many people, like my former partners, have been so shocked sometimes, because they're like, you think so? Like, you think I'm hot, or you think I'm good, or you think... I'm just like, oh my God, why aren't you being affirmed? Anyway, that's like a long example of, you see, in that we've seen, like, even with the guys who have been able to transcend this idea that a compliment is attraction, it's because they looked at it and questioned it, and they were like, I think this is bullshit, and they decided to create something different from that. So now you see how wonderful questioning can be. I feel like we should be questioning things a little more as a country, as a culture, because I feel like this could even go into deeper things. It could go into the leadership that we choose, could go into the decisions that we make over sex education and women's autonomy over their bodies, over the rights of just human rights, especially when it comes to like the LGBTQ. Like, we can look at all these things and really start to question them from a point of critical thinking, and not just, this is how things are supposed to be. I feel like once you open up yourself to start questioning things like that, then you can see that actually a lot of the shit that we think we're supposed to be, or how we're supposed to exist in this world, how women are supposed to be, men are supposed to be, how ridiculous it all is. Hey, this video has gone on long. I didn't think it was going to go on for this long, so let me end it here. I have enjoyed this conversation with you. I look forward to reading any of your comments. Let's talk about this. I would love to know what your thoughts are. Please find me on social media, Taruri Gatere, everywhere. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Yes, I'm always posting shit like this as well, having conversations about different things with people. So check me out there. I am sending you so much love. Thank you so much for watching. And please remember, above everybody else, you deserve your own unconditional love and acceptance. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.